All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Air Peace has vowed to repatriate trafficked Nigerian girls from Ivory Coast, offering free flights, medical care, and support service. Nigeria's leading airline, Air Peace, has pledged to evacuate Nigerian underage girls recently discovered to have been trafficked to Ivory Coast following the outcry raised by popular activist Very Dark Man. The airline's chairman, Allen Oyema, made the announcement in a press statement condemning the trafficking of young girls and calling for collective action to end the scourge. We should discourage trafficking of any kind. It is inhuman and callous. It is absolutely ungodly and a good example of man's inhumanity to man, Oyema stated. Now, time and again, Allen Oyema has stepped up with his selfless service helping Nigerians that are stranded abroad for whatever reason to fly back into the country. It is quite refreshing to know that not all members of the elite class in this country are monsters. God bless you, Allen Oyema, for looking beyond all forms of sentiments that have been eating up our nation to help your fellow human beings. Thank you. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that video where Senator NDUME brutally humiliated by ONONUGA to the delight of patriotic Nigerians. ONONUGA has never been this humiliated ever since he began running his mouth in Nigeria. And next is that update that sent fear into Aso Rock. Two Christian religious leaders appeared before a U.S. Congress hearing and testified against the Tinubu and APC government, exposing their complicity in the killings of Christians in Nigeria. Aso Rock immediately began panicking and issuing statements as US steps into the matter. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you these videos.
Charles, I think that the ban by the NBC is expected because this is not the first time that the NBC is acting in this manner. Well, one would ask the question about the legal justification for this. And it is very clear that citizens have a right to express their views. And what Idris Abdulkarim did was to amplify the concerns and the pain that Nigerians are experiencing. There's absolutely nothing he said in that song that it's not a reflection of our present reality. And all he has just done is to use music, because you use music to tell a story. You use music to communicate, your views. And it's a form of expression. And what he did was to use that form of expression, to express the concerns that Nigerians have. I dare say, Charles, I don't ask you, what is it that Idris said that many people have not said? The fact that he put it in form of music, it's really unwarranted action on the part of the NBC, because first, it doesn't compromise national security in any way. There's no obscenity in any way. There's no hate speech in any way. It's, again, when he released Jaga Jaga under Obasanjo's regime, it was the same response from the state. But I thought that the state would be more concerned with responding with some of the actions it is taking to cushion the effect of some of the economic policies that this administration has introduced, but not to ban the song. Well, thank God for the democratization of information platforms. And you can ban the song, but you can't ban it on the hearts of Nigerians. You can ban the song, but you cannot ban the pain that Nigerians currently face. So I think it's just a reflection of the reality and nothing short of that.
You heard that. What the Tinubu regime is unequivocally telling us is that we do not have freedom of speech. We don't have freedom of speech again in this Nigeria. Many have been arrested, not by the police in their locality, but by DSS, just because they made TikTok videos. Imagine what would have happened to the core member, Raya, if Nigerians didn't lend their voices en masse to say nothing must happen to her. But just as I always say, all these are happening because Nigerians have not unanimously made up their minds to change this country. And frankly, this generation may never do so. but a generation will come that will unanimously revolt, that will get up and say enough is enough. And that is the generation that will heal this land. Next video here is a protest from Rivers State. See the video.
The women in their numbers walked from Isaac Borough Park end of the Aba-Port Harcourt Express Road to Garrison in demonstration of their disapproval of the state of emergency, as they also stopped at strategic junctions to pray. They said the protest walk became necessary owing to the dual law obtainable in the country, one that is unjust and repressive for Rivers State and another for other states that is in tandem with the Constitution. Hence the appeal on President Tinubu to quickly reinstate all democratic institutions in Rivers State.
We appeal to the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as mothers and wives, to immediately reinstate all democratic institutions, including the return of our dear duly elected governor, His Excellency Amo Pusenebo. We demand an end to this unconstitutional military rule in Rivers State and unacceptable by Rivers women.
You cannot come and suspend a constitutionally elected governor. Bring back Similala Yufubara Joseph is our simple assignment. The rape of democracy is too much. The injustice meted on us is too much. This is a civilian coup on Rivers people.
They also called on eminent Nigerians to prevail on the undemocratic situation in Rivers State.
We call upon eminent and respected Nigerians, including former presidents, General Abdulsalimi Abubakar, General Ibrahim Babangida, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, General Muhammadu Buhari, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, as well as distinguished diplomats such as Tanko Yakashai, Chief Victor Atta, and Senator David Mark, to prevail on President Tinubu to reverse this injustice.
Some residents also shared their thoughts on the appointment of an administrator in Rivers State.
You saw that. That is a good move by the people of Rivers State, but it has to quadruple in terms of intensity and sustainability. For instance, this number has to increase by 10, and they must block the state house to the point that they will have to be dispersed by the army, and chaos will erupt when Port Harcourt, the state capital, begins witnessing heavy protests like twice a week, and protests erupt in oil-producing areas, disrupting production. That is when Tinubu will know that there is resistance to his tyranny. That is when ex-presidents will come in. But if you only gather, agitate a little bit and grant interviews, nothing will change, because the people you are dealing with are shameless tyrants. So the approach has to be tougher. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that video where Senator NDUME completely destroyed by ONONUGA. And next is that update on the testimony of two religious leaders before a U.S. Congress hearing, slamming the Tinubu regime and exposing its complicity in the area of insecurity. Let's start by taking that update from Senator NDUME. See the video.
2 years older than me. I don't know about his qualification, but I know he was a good journalist that spoke truth to power, that he had to even run away. So when somebody like me, who is a senator, speaks like this, then he uses the language, I can only say it's very unfortunate. But I have no reason to be, hypocritic, to be selective, or whatever he called me. Instead, he is the one. Because you know what? I have been a senator, this is the 4th time. He tried to be a senator,
That's
he could
16
not.
years.
Yes. He tried to be senator even at the first time. He couldn't make it. Who is more frustrated? He has ended up being a domestic staff of
He's
Mr.
not a
President.
domestic, he's a special advisor to the president.
Yeah, it's domestic.
That's a senior role. That's not a domestic.
No, even if you're senior, there is senior domestic servant.
You heard that. Senior domestic servant. That is what Bayo Ononuga is. He has been glorified. The position he's occupying has been glorified with a lot of grammar. Senior special organ. You are a domestic servant. Oh, I so love this by Senator NDUME. Bayo Ononuga will not sleep for months after hearing this, and after he has been reminded of how he tried and failed to become a senator. Now he is a senior domestic servant to Tinubu. And somebody said that where was NDUME when Bayo Ononuga in 1993 was fighting for democracy during Abiola time? Well, you fought for democracy in 1993, but you have ended up as a domestic staff to a tyrant. That is another level of failure that should take sleep off your eyes. Bayo Ononuga. NDUME, thank you for this description of this man, this bigot, Ononuga. I couldn't have described him any better. And it was by Ononuga who who threw the first punch by calling Ali NDUME a hypocrite. But this counter from NDUME is a knockout punch, and there is no coming back from these. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. And this tweet here by Big Perez says, if Bayo Ononuga reply, let me bend. He is a journalist. He knows that there is no way to reply to this. This is the final punch. And Cryptic here says, he is trying to say that Bayo Ononuga is the one that used to wash Sheyi and Tinubu's cars in the morning before they go out. Oh. And then he's here says, spot on, Senator Ali NDUME. I like your consistency. You are one of the few northern politicians that criticized Buhari and his goons, and you are doing the same to this administration. Well done. That is one good thing about Ali NDUME. He criticized Buhari and is criticizing Tinubu. Nobody can say he's nepotic. And Olumayo here says, this one hot too. So brother Bayo na senior domestic servant. But come to think of it, this thing looks like it is real. That is what it is. I know these people. If you see him, he can even carry Sheyi Tinubu's son and go and bath the son. I'm telling you, that is what they do. Then they come online to run their mouths. Useless old men. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this, that update from the US Congress and the reaction from Tinubu's cabinet began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. Tinubu government faults Christian clerics who testified before US Congress on religious persecution in Nigeria. Sahara reporters. Bola Tinubu-led Nigerian government has criticized a social media post by the United States Embassy in Abuja and testimonies by two Nigerian religious leaders before a US congressional hearing, describing them as inaccurate and misrepresentative of the country's security efforts and religious freedom landscape. In a statement released on Friday and signed by Kimiebi Imomotimi Ibiemfa, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government expressed serious concerns over the embassy's publication and testimonies provided by Bishop Wilfred Anagbe and Reverend Father Remigius Ihuila. The clergymen had spoken during a hearing on religious persecution in Nigeria, painting a dark picture of Christian communities allegedly facing unchecked violence. The statement read, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs observes with concern a recent social media publication by the United States Embassy, Abuja, regarding the security situation in Nigeria and the testimonies provided by Bishop Wilfred Anagbe and Reverend Father Remigius Ihuila on the unfortunate alleged threats that have arisen as a result of their testimonies at the U.S. congressional hearing on religious persecution in Nigeria. Though their testimonies misrepresent facts and oversimplify a deeply complex national challenge, the religious leaders are entitled to their opinions, freedom of expression, and association as enshrined in Nigeria's constitution, the ministry stated. The government also pushed back against claims that it had allowed religious violence to escalate unchecked, calling such accusations both inaccurate and unfair. According to the ministry, the government has consistently taken decisive actions, including deploying security forces to areas affected by communal violence, engaging in peace-building efforts between farmers and herders, strengthening intelligence operations to track down criminal elements, and implementing policies to address root causes, including land use reforms and economic development initiatives. It is important to state that while challenges remain, it is incorrect to suggest that the Nigerian government has been inactive or indifferent. The statement continued. The reality is that Nigeria is fighting multiple security threats, including banditry, terrorism, and organized crime, of all which affect different communities irrespective of religion. But I thought you said you had defeated them. I thought you said that insecurity is a thing of the past, that is only a few criminals that are left, according to the Minister of Information. He said just few criminals are left in Nigeria, that states and the other people should just join hands and clear those ones. That Tinubu has completely dealt with insecurity. But now that the US is looking into the matter, you are now admitting that you have banditry and terrorism everywhere. And then you are trying to deny the fact that you have allowed, from the Buhari regime to the Tinubu regime, you guys have allowed the killing of Christians in Nigeria. You want to deny that? When Deborah was lynched in broad daylight, they said she blasphemed. Extrajudicial killing. None of you could even speak up. It was only ordinary citizens in Nigeria that were speaking up. None of you could talk. How about the man Jackson, who defended himself against two Fulani headsmen? Just some weeks ago, he was sentenced to death by the Supreme Court. How many times have these guys come to attack churches? Look at the one that happened in Ondo State. Sprayed about 44 people. Nothing happened. And don't even get me started about Southern Kaduna. Christians living in northern Nigeria live in fear and depression because they could lose their lives to religious fights at any time. We have seen it in Plateau State, seen it in Zamfara, Katsina, everywhere. So it's not even something that anybody that has any form of decency should come out and try to deny. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here says, but you have failed to fault or arrest the imam that ordered for the killing of repentant Muslims and blasphemers just 2 days ago. An imam came out and said that anybody that leaves Islam should be killed, he should be lynched right under this administration, and none of you spoke up. So what are you trying to say? Does your silence not mean that you approve of that message? And Olawale here says, so the clerics should lie, or they shouldn't have gone there because the useless government does not want the world to know about their incompetence. Shake my head. That is it. And this tweet here says, all what the bishop testified are truth to the core. Tinubu is not different from Buhari that has used Fulani bandits and headsmen to kill innocent people across Nigeria. Shameless man. And this tweet by Christopher says, is it not true? Has anyone been arrested for the current killing in Plateau and Benue states? They have not been arrested. They will just come and tell you that they have deployed some security forces for calm to return. After a while, the Mopo and the soldiers, all of them will live there. Give it 1 month, they will attack again. And this tweet here says, you are criticizing them for speaking out, but have always kept silent when Christians were attacked and killed in the north. Where was your criticism or your voice when your puppet judge sentenced Samuel Jackson to death for killing 2 headsmen that came to his farm to attack him? That is it. A man defended himself, and suddenly, in the Nigerian constitution, self-defense did no longer exist. And that was how the man was sentenced. In fact, that was what spurred this US Congress hearing on persecution of Christians in Nigeria. And I hope that they go through with it to bring justice to Christians, especially Christians living in northern Nigeria. Those guys don't to suffer persecution. I hope and pray that liberation will come to them. Anyway, make I leave am here. Make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because now because of that, now I dey here. So don't go away. Don't go.